Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. Today, I will be giving you my projected college football playoff rankings that will officially be dropping tomorrow. Please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Also, yesterday, I did hear about Shaedy Hayward decommitting from our Tennessee Volunteers. I tried to put a video out for y'all, but y'all know that I've been a little bit under the weather. I'm starting to feel a little bit better today. But my thoughts on that, number one, is that Shaedy might be my favorite player in this entire class. I've said that several times on this channel. So if Tennessee can hold on to him, that would be a major blow. But whenever you look at what's going on behind the scenes, okay, we have sources that are telling us that Florida has got a ton of NIL money here very, very recently because they are going to be holding on to Billy Napier. And so I guess they're just trying to make up for the lost time. It's not just Shaedy. It's also Onis Konanbanny and several players from different programs that Florida is targeting. And it sounds like they are on the verge of ultimately flipping. So for Tennessee, right, it sounds like, from our insiders that Tennessee will continue to try to pursue Shaedy. And we would probably have to just match whatever the NIL money is that Florida's giving to him. Now, does Tennessee still have enough funds left to allocate to up Shady's deal? Because we still have to, do the transfer portal thing. So that's players that could potentially be leaving us. If Tennessee wants to keep them, then we're going to have to pay them some more money. And then we have to go out and definitely add some more players to this roster. So this is pretty interesting just because Shady's family was even kind of shocked that he decided to decommit from Tennessee. So I feel like things are still, there is still a path for Tennessee to land Shaedy. We just had to get that NIL money right, or, whatever the package and all that type of stuff. That has to be, I think, on point. And if we can, I would say at least match what Florida's doing, then Shaedy should ultimately end up in this class. All right, y'all, now let's talk about these rankings. And what you're looking at are the week-to-week CFP rankings. There's a couple of trends that I want to show y'all here to explain why I do believe Tennessee is going to be getting that first-round home game. So the first thing that we need to touch on is that Ohio State and Miami losing open up a path for 4 SEC teams to make it to the college football playoffs. That's a big deal because now we're talking about 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the SEC, 1 from pretty much everybody else, right? So ACC, Big 12 only gets in 1. Notre Dame's obviously in, and then just 1 group of 5. That's already showing some major bias, and y'all will understand why I'm pointing that out as we go through this video. So the first trend that I want to show you is right here with Miami, okay? We see that they dropped from being ranked number 4 to being ranked number 9. So they dropped 5 spots after they went on the road and had their first loss to unranked Georgia Tech. So again, they dropped down 5 spots on the road, playing up against or losing to an unranked team. Now let's come on down to BYU, right? We see that they went from being ranked number 6 to number 14. So they dropped 8 spots. That came from their first loss of the season. This game was at home for BYU. They lost to an unranked Kansas team. Now, if you look over here, what you'll see is they dropped from being ranked number 14 to number 19. So they dropped 5 spots when they went on the road and lost their second game to Arizona State, who was also unranked. So what we're seeing, right here, right now, is that it's a bare minimum of 5 spots teams are dropping for losing to unranked teams. And it seems to be even more if you lose to those unranked teams at home. Now, let's come on down. Let's take a look at Alabama. What we're seeing from Alabama is they dropped from number 7 to number 13. So again, that would be 5 spots. And they lost on the road to an unranked Oklahoma team. And that was actually their 3rd loss of the season. So I'm pointing all this stuff out, like I just said, to highlight the simple fact that with Ohio State, okay, Ohio State losing to an unranked, absolutely terrible Michigan team at home in an absolute must-win game, they're favored by 20 points, 2nd loss of the season. There is no realistic world that they drop less than 5 spots, okay? If they drop less than 5, they're showing way too much Big Ten bias, and that's part of what I was talking about earlier with the 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the SEC. But that's not all of it. We'll get to some more of that here in just a second. Now, let me show y'all the College Football Power Index from ESPN. This is where I think a lot of the information comes from, just as far as the strength of schedules and things like that. As we come on down here, what we're going to see is Tennessee's strength of record, okay? And that's the part that we're really focusing on, just to let you know, because the strength of record is going to look at your strength of schedule. It's going to look at the wins and losses, game control, all that type of stuff. It calculates all that stuff up, and it gives you a ranking based off of the strength of record. To me, this is really how the top 12 teams are, really all the rankings. This is how it should look. But you can see right here, Tennessee's at number 6, and Ohio State is ranked behind us at number 7. So with all that being said, this is my Week 14 college football playoff projected rankings, okay? And also pay very close attention to the seeding. The seeding is going to be to the right of each team's name. So if you're looking at Tennessee, we're ranked number 6 for me, but we're seated at number 8. Now, just to let everyone know, okay, just in case you did not know, the top 4 seeds will be the 4 highest ranked conference champions, okay? Those are the teams that get that first round bye. Seeds 5 through 8 get to host in the first round. So right now I do have Tennessee as the last team in to host. Now, if you look over here, okay, at number 7, I have SMU ranked ahead of Ohio State. The reason for that for me is just because they have a better record than Ohio State does. And they're also on a little bit of a winning streak, which I think does matter, with where you're ranking these teams at. So right now, okay, I have Ohio State ranked number 8, but they will be seated at number 9. And what that means for us is we will be hosting them in the first round of the college football playoffs if everything stopped today. Now, I do obviously have Indiana below Ohio State because they beat them head to head. And then really, if you look at 7 through 10, that could be switched up. I would not be surprised if maybe Boise State ends up ranked ahead of Ohio State, just because, again, Boise State has only lost 1 game this season, and Ohio State has lost 2. So I can see that happening, but for seeding purposes, that's not really going to change anything because Boise State would be their conference champion, again, if everything ended like this today. Now, let me show y'all my final CFP rankings, and this would be at the championship Saturday. And this is not really rankings. This is more of the seedings for me. But I do have Penn State winning the Big Ten. I have Texas winning the SEC, I think in very dominant fashion. SMU winning the ACC. Boise State winning their conference. Then I have at number 5, Notre Dame. Number 6 is going to be our Volunteers. At 7, I have Ohio State. 8's Indiana. 9 is Oregon. And then 10 is UGA. So this is the thing that a lot of folks have been wondering about. What's going to happen with the Big Ten and SEC conference title losers? Well, like we talked about earlier, we already have 4 teams from each conference, Big Ten and SEC, in the college football playoffs. To me, it would just show way too much bias to say, hey, look, for every other conference, y'all have to win y'all's conference title to even make it. But even our conference championship losers are going to be getting that first round home game. I just don't see that happening. I just don't think that would be fair by any means. But there's a couple of interesting things here. So first and foremost, if you look at Ohio State and Oregon, could you put Ohio State ranked ahead of Oregon when Oregon beat them head to head? I don't know how that's going to work out, okay? I don't know. But my whole train of thought, y'all, is just that if one, Big Ten or SEC team makes it with a first round home game, then the other one has to do it. And then if one of them doesn't get it, then neither of them get it. And I think that they're going to be leaning a lot more towards neither of them getting it. So I do think that this is about how things could be slotted out. But also, if you look at number 11, I've got South Carolina or Alabama. We all know that it's probably going to be Bama just because of the viewership and all that type of stuff. They have a much larger following than South Carolina does. So even though South Carolina at this point is probably the team that deserves to get in, I think Alabama will be the one that gets there. Now, if Alabama gets in, you have to, same thing that we talked about with the Buckeyes and with Oregon. Would you put Alabama above UGA because they did beat them head to head? I don't know if that's how things will, end up playing out. But if you're looking at Tennessee, we would end up playing whoever is at that number 11 seed. So right now I'm thinking it's either going to be Alabama or it's going to be UGA. And we'd be hosting them. I don't have a problem playing either one of them. I think that we would beat both of them. I think we beat Alabama worse than we beat them. And we've already seen that UGA just is not that good of a team. As long as the coaching staff doesn't nut up in that game, that's one that we should win, especially at home this season. But last thing that I'll just kind of throw out there for y'all is I could really see these guys at the very end of this whole deal voting and saying, look, we want certain matchups. So we're going to slot this thing to give us the matchups that we feel like will favor the entire playoffs. So will we see SEC versus SEC, Big Ten versus Big Ten? That's very possible. But I think that what they need to go on ahead and do is make sure that the SEC and the Big Ten can play one another early on. Okay, that's what I would do, just because we already know that the SEC would be able to, win all those games. I don't think that there's a Big Ten team up here that can beat any of these SEC teams. You can call that bias, you can call that homerism, whatever. But we're about to find out here in about the next month. So I'm very excited for that. But those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.